university. Now, unless otherwise stated, assume that I'm discussing the institution in general. Now, this is an important question to ask, especially for our students. We have definite, legitimate concerns. I mean, we certainly hope that our time and money is being well spent, for one. And in this age of globalization, we face much uncertainty. Now, let's discuss the context of our current uncertainty, that being the age of globalization. Over the past century, we have entered into this new age, which can best be described as a process of overall extending the social relations across world space. There are now new worldwide financial markets that intertwine the economic fates of countries together. When one country is in recession, it has global international effects. Globalization now fosters the informational and technological innovations that have brought an unprecedented level of accessible information to the individual. The internet has contributed to the growth of cross-cultural contacts. The world has never before been as interconnected as it is now. In short, the world is a much smaller stage and there are more players now than ever. Globalization has initiated worldwide competition for the production and consumption of goods. Traditional business strategies have come and gone. The entire process of creative destruction, at least in the information technology sector, takes only a matter of a few years or sometimes only months or weeks. Societal institutions have changed, and the role of the university and education at large in general has changed with globalization as well. In his 2012 State of the Union, President Obama said that higher education cannot be a luxury. It's an economic imperative that every family in America should be able to afford. Now, I don't know what your thoughts may be on this, but I'd like to discuss the implication of this quote. It's that higher education is now becoming a necessary step in this age of globalization, and it certainly seems like it's not going anywhere soon. University World News projects that by the year 2025, there will be more than 280 million new students entering university worldwide. Take note, that doesn't include the university students who are already now in university. Our political and economic rhetoric as of late says that in order for us to compete and succeed, we must attain at least some level of higher education. This rhetoric seems to say that the duty of the university in this global context is to produce the world's workers. Workers with higher skills, no less, but still to produce the world's workers. However, we should be unsatisfied with this answer. I wish to critique that assertion that the duty of the university in a global context is to produce the world's workers. I will proceed in doing so by discussing that assertion, which I shall refer to henceforth as the university's duty to the global job market, alongside 3 different forms of duties that the university has, and then I will analyze which of these 4 duties, if any of them, offers the best hope for prioritizing what exactly the duty or highest duty is of the university in this global age. Now, we will discuss the university's duty to the global job market, as mentioned earlier, the university's duty to itself in accordance with its final cause, the university's duty to the state in which it resides, and the university's duty to humanity. Now, before we go any further, we must define our terms. What is the university? John Henry Newman, a 19th century Catholic cardinal, wrote that a university seems to be, in its essence, a place for the communication and circulation of thought by means of personal intercourse through a wide extent of country. In other words, the university is a place where all forms of knowledge are studied, shared, and improved upon by people from all areas of expertise. Now, what is that? What is duty? Well, we define it as an obligation to act in a certain way that arises from a societal context or moral sentiment. Now, although we always see that fulfilling our duties is honorable, we would like to note that we do not feel our duties out of self-interest or self-fulfillment, but rather as a kind of self-giving or simply paying our dues to society. Given this definition, then, of duty, it is reasonable to assert that an institution may have multiple, even conflicting duties, because as we change our context, the time and place we're in, what we have to offer in the global job market, or to whom we pay our debts, our duties can change. Now let's remember this as we move forward. What is the university's duty to itself? What does that even mean? What does it mean by duty to itself? Well, we say that an institution has an obligation to pursue its end or final cause. Now this almost seems tautological. Think, for example, of the Aristotelian definition of man's formal and final causes. If you recall, man, according to Aristotle, is the rational animal, and his end is eudaimonism, the happiness that comes from living a well-ordered life. Now this happiness, man's final cause, presupposes man's ability to reason, which is his essential form, his being a rational animal. Now in our case, the university is a place where all forms of knowledge are studied, shared, and improved upon, right? Then that means that the final cause of the university, or its purpose, is to develop the whole person through a common pursuit of knowledge and truth. Now this may sound familiar to most of you, especially since during previous lectures we had heard that same thing. Now there are definite benefits to the university's duty being to itself. The pursuit of knowledge for its own sake is by far one of the more noble notions of all of history. If this were the duty of the university in our present context, we would no doubt see more developed, rational, and industrious human beings. However, we cannot accept this as being sufficient enough, simply because it ignores the political and economic situation of today. Yes, we say it plain, that we are arguing for the idea that there are higher duties that take precedence over others, and therefore the duty to oneself is not sufficient alone to be the highest duty. Now this brings us to our discussion of the university's duty to the state wherein it resides, and also to the university's duty to the global job market. Now the university must pay its duties to the global job market because one, paying tuition to university is a market transaction, and two, we students expect our education to help us find jobs. At least I know I do. It's going to be a very difficult task, but that's another question for another day. Sad thoughts. However, these two duties, they are similar in structure, with the only difference being the emphasis on one being focused on the leaders of the society, whereas one focuses on the workers of the society. Now I define the university's duty to the state, wherein it resides, is to train the leaders of its societal institutions and to introduce the students to the practical and specialized knowledge necessary to lead those institutions. This view properly recognizes the political and strategic value of the university. Now, I would say that's definitely an improvement. However, recall the definition of duty as stated earlier. Institutional duties vary with the values from culture to culture. Therefore, this poses a serious problem with both of these notions of duty. The notions of that the university's duty is to the global market, and the other to the university's duty to the state. Now let's give an example. If the duty of the university is to produce the leaders of the particular state's institutions, well, let's just pose a hypothetical. It seems that a university in America must produce liberal democratic capitalists, and a university in China would say must produce communist totalitarians. Now, we are in the age of globalization. I find it odd to say that the highest duty of the university would have so many different variations of its main duty. Now, remember that that duty is what we owe to others, not out of our own self-interest or our own final causes. But what of this duty to the global market? Shifting patterns of global production and consumption make it practically impossible for universities to respond quickly enough to changes in the job market. As stated earlier, creative destruction is doing its thing. We are uncertain of what's going to be in the global market, especially as we graduate now. Now, in our global age, a highest duty so susceptible to such wide variety of factors within each different context of our society, I don't believe it's an acceptable duty for the highest duty of the university in our time. Now let's turn to what we believe is the duty of the university, the duty to humanity, which is something that all institutions share. Why? Simply because we are all human. We have different societal institutions, say in the United States or in China, but we all have the same nature. Now we define that this duty to humanity is what we do to further man's development in his reasoning, his physical ability, his morality, and his happiness. Now let's talk about man for a second. Man is a special case. He's not quite God, who knows everything, but nor is he an animal incapable of reason. Man is the only creature with the ability to reason, with the ability to utilize both his senses and his rational faculties to discern the truths of the natural world. He's the only creature with the ability to order his rational soul around what is good, true, and beautiful through the use of his reason, working in tandem with his will and passions. And because of this, man is ambitious. He seeks to subdue the world. He's not content with the things he knows. He seeks to understand everything about the world in which he lives in. Now let us remember what a university is and what its final cause is. It's a place where knowledge is studied, shared, and improved upon by the people in all walks of life. Now, in this age of globalization, it seems that the institution that specializes in such a case has the best opportunity to promote the development of humanity. Say what you will about the King's College and all of its drawbacks and all of its pluses. However, I say that the King's College recognizes that it is not sufficient for the university to fulfill its duty to itself by pursuing knowledge alone in a vacuum. Nor does King's believe it is the duty of the university to produce the leaders and workers of societal institutions. No, we believe that it is the duty of the university to further humanity's trek towards redemption by producing leaders and workers who seek to transform our societal institutions to reflect what humanity could be, should be, and what humanity truly is, which is the imago Dei, the image of God. Thank you and have a nice day. God bless you, and God bless America.